Headlines scream war and blockade, triggering immediate fear of a global catastrophe. But the latest orders from Tehran to turn ships back are not an opening salvo for kinetic conflict. They are a precise instrument of economic warfare designed to spike oil prices, force sanctions relief, and avoid total war. This is a calibrated signal. Iran knows that sinking ships invites destruction, but turning them away creates market panic without triggering a full-scale invasion. To understand the stakes here, we must first look at what makes this specific waterway so dangerous for the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a shipping lane, it is the world's most critical energy choke point. Approximately 25% of all global oil flows pass through this narrow passage every single day. When leaders discuss closing the strait, they are talking about interrupting roughly 1/4 of the planet's daily fuel supply. Theoretically, such a closure could push crude oil prices well above $100 per barrel within just days due to pure market panic alone. This context is essential because it explains why Iran does not need to sink ships or lay mines to achieve its strategic goals. A permanent blockade would require military dominance that Tehran simply cannot sustain against the combined naval forces of the United States and its allies in the region. Instead, the Iranian strategy relies on asymmetric leverage through intermittent disruption. They are playing a game where uncertainty is more valuable than destruction. The pattern of behavior over recent months reveals this rhythm clearly. Following initial hostilities in early March, there was a brief window where the strait opened again around April 17th. Yet, within hours of that opening, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps shut it down once more. This oscillation is not chaos. It is a deliberate timer designed to keep global markets on edge without crossing the threshold into total war. By creating these sudden closures and openings, Tehran forces oil prices to spike temporarily, extracting economic concessions while maintaining plausible deniability that would justify an immediate military response from Washington or Tel Aviv. Quick resource note. I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. The data supports this calculation of calculated coercion rather than random aggression. Since March 4th, roughly 7% of vessels have successfully transited the strait, out of at least 187 attempts counted during this period. That means only 13 ships managed to get through while facing Iranian conditions or threats. The vast majority reversed course due to these orders. This tiny fraction is enough to cause massive price spikes because it signals that supply chains are fragile. Consider the mathematical leverage here. If Iran were to sink a few tankers, they would trigger an immediate and overwhelming military retaliation that could destroy their own navy and regime security. However, by forcing ships to turn back, they extract economic concessions without crossing the line into lethal action. The market reacts violently not because oil is gone from the ground, but because it cannot move through the strait reliably. This creates a price shock equivalent to a physical shortage while allowing Iran to claim no war has been declared. This approach also reveals how different nations navigate this risk. Commercial data indicates that over half of the vessels attempting transit are operated by shipping companies based in just 4 countries, with China topping the list as the largest user. These entities must weigh the cost of paying fees or using intermediaries against the risk of confrontation. By forcing tankers to pay fees and use pre-approved routes closer to Iranian waters, Tehran extracts economic value while keeping ships at a safe distance from their own assets. The strategic logic is clear. Iran has turned a military choke point into an economic lever. The goal is not to hold the strait forever through brute force. It is about opening and closing it on a timer to force sanctions relief while avoiding a military response they cannot win. This distinction changes how we interpret global risk entirely. If viewers assume a blockade means imminent physical destruction, the market reacts with maximum panic and escalation becomes likely. However, recognizing these orders as economic coercion reveals that Iran is playing a high-stakes game of brinkmanship where their goal is price manipulation rather than regime change via invasion. This matters because it signals to investors and policymakers that the primary risk is inflationary volatility in fuel costs rather than an immediate humanitarian or military disaster. It suggests that as long as the disruption remains non-lethal, with ships turning back but not sinking, the United States will likely maintain a posture of deterrence rather than launching offensive operations. This allows Iran to continue using this leverage until sanctions relief negotiations reach a tipping point where both sides see more value in de-escalation than continued brinkmanship. The world often mistakes silence for peace and noise for war. In the Strait of Hormuz, however, the most dangerous moment is when ships are turning back but not sinking. It creates a sustained state of economic anxiety that forces concessions without triggering the full-scale kinetic conflict neither side can afford to fight. This is realpolitik in action, using the threat of disruption as a currency more valuable than actual destruction. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.